Oh, hello. Um, we're just gonna skim over the fact that it's been like 6+ months since I've uploaded an episode, but we're back today. And today I'm joined by my friend Dawn. She is a model slash photographer slash musician here in Dallas, Texas. She is an absolute cutie patootie. Sweetest little thing. I met her a while ago now, and I don't know why it took me so long to edit and upload this episode, but it's actually kind of perfect because she just released her first single and music video today, and it's her birthday today. So it all worked out. The song is an absolute bop. It's been stuck in my head ever since she previewed it. So if you are listening on Spotify or Apple, definitely check it out when you're done. And yeah, I'm excited for you guys to hear the conversation. So without further ado, let's get into it. I was like Googling you, and then I was like, has she done anything like this before? But I couldn't find anything. So
No podcast. I've done, well, that's not true. Okay, I did do one podcast about like 2 or 3 years ago in 2020. It was on one of my friend's podcasts, but
really,
I think he just published it on like YouTube and Instagram, so nothing crazy.
shoot, I should have looked on YouTube because I was definitely just like Googling you. So
See, hopefully all good things came up.
oh yeah, of course. So anyway, I was trying to do my homework on you, but
Yeah.
all right. Well, welcome to my little podcast.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
Yeah, happy to have you here. So, I met you recently. You did my headshots. So
Yes.
thank you. I finally feel like I finally feel like a professional boss babe, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, when I met you, I started talking to you about your whole modeling career, and I found it so fascinating. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna pick your brain. How did you even get into modeling in the first place?
Yeah, so it was kind of an accident. I had always wanted to be a model, but it was one of those things that back then all models were 5'9", and like that was like a requirement.
Yeah.
And that was so far from me. I'm 5'2". Sometimes I tell people I'm 5'3", or 5'4", but you do what you gotta do, in this industry. So, so I never thought it would be possible, but it was always something just kind of like in the back of my mind. And about in 2016, 2015, my best friend she had kind of always been in the industry growing up, and she switched to being a photographer. So from like an actress model to photographer. And she just like was killing it, just taking pictures of all her friends, like just trying to stack her portfolio. And so I was probably 18 years old and I was still in high school, and she took me out, like dressed me up, did my makeup. We had a whole theme. And after that, I was like, this shit is cool. I want to keep doing this. I was like, how do I do this more?
Yeah.
And I remember asking her, I was like, all right, like how you've done this, so how can I do this? And she was a lot taller than me. She was probably like 5'7". So she had like an easier time finding at least commercial work and things like that. So at the time she was like, she's like, I don't really know a market for like, shorter models, but she was like, I think like if you keep posting and doing this like that, could put you in front of the right people. So that's what I did. I just lined up a bunch of like free shoots with people and would just shoot and create content and post on Instagram, Facebook, everything. And that's how I started to build my portfolio.
Nice. Yeah, I was doing a deep dive on your Insta today, and it's so interesting because I mean, obviously you were really young when you started. I mean, you're still really young, but
Yeah.
your look has changed so much.
It has. I used
Yeah.
to like have like I look back at it and like no tattoos.
Yeah.
Brown hair.
Yeah.
Long brown hair. Just a completely different person.
Yeah.
Don't even know her.
Yeah, she's basic. We don't know her.
Yeah,
we don't claim her. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no.
So how did you like evolve? Did you always want to have like different color hair and tattoos? But I mean, okay, so we're both in Texas, so
Yeah.
I feel like at least even me moving here, I'm like, oh, I feel like I don't see other girls with like short hair and like colored hair. So it's definitely like a lot of pressure to like look one way. So
Definitely. Yeah, it's very conservative here, as I'm sure you've seen.
Yes.
Just a short time. All you need is a short time here to see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always did. I grew up as like a scene kid, and I feel like I still embody that to this
Absolutely.
day. I just get to actually do the things I wanted to do. So when I was younger, like I listened to that kind of music and was into all of that. So I wanted to dye my hair, but I went to a private school for 12 years.
Yeah.
So most of my life, so we couldn't do anything like that. So as soon as like I got through college and was done with school, I was like, all right, this is the time. And shortly around there is when I met Danny, and she's just always hooked it up for me. Like always done a great job.
Yeah. Shout out Danny Does Glam. She does both of our hair.
Right? So. Yeah, for real, featured. Yeah, she's amazing. But yeah, I've always wanted it, always wanted tattoos. And on my 18th birthday, I got my first one. My dad actually paid for me to get matching tattoos with him. So it's like a traditional tiger that I have on my leg. And he has one too. So it's cute. Yeah. So I feel like I'm living the dream, you know?
You are living the dream.
Down to my fingers, it's good.
I know. I was telling you this when I met you, but you have like such a cute little bubbly personality, and your tattoos are like raw. They're like super dark.
My maze.
Yeah. Well, even like, what is you're not gonna say like what fear?
Fear. Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay.
Like, wow, no, and that's so funny because my boyfriend has been like, that's gonna freak people out because it's gonna say fearless.
I know,
so much more empowering.
Yeah.
But right now, it is fear. So
yeah. Well, it's just funny because like you just the juxtaposition of like your cute little personality and like the tattoos. Yeah. As far as like now, I feel like you're modeling. Like when I first met you, I was like, I was like so curious as like your safety when you're on set, because now you do, I don't know, would you consider it more like it's not like sexual, but it's like, it's like adult, suggestive, like sexy,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it is so hard. I feel like to be safe, like in this industry, especially like here in Texas, because there isn't as much of an industry for it.
Yeah.
And because anyone can pick up a camera and offer money, I feel like that creates just like you're shooting with anybody, like sometimes at people's houses and things like that, like at their home studios. Yeah. And some people don't do that. I definitely don't recommend it for newer models. And if they ever have to, I always say to like bring a buddy, preferably like a big dude if possible, or like a woman that's ready to like go. So but yeah, so I think like bringing people, especially when you shoot with people for the first time, is important. Because just overall, it's a very dangerous industry to be in. I think so, especially in Texas, because like you said, it's so conservative here. And so the people here, the guys here, are a lot more aggressive, and they are a lot more, I think, entitled. So I've heard like models that model in other places, like in the North specifically, they say that it's a lot better up there because the photographers are a lot more prepared, and they talk about things ahead of time. For example, like at a shoot here, I cannot tell you how many times I've shown up to a shoot, like it was like we talked about it, like what I was gonna wear. It was like a dress or something, and then we'd get there and we'd be in the field, and they'd be like, all right, so like, do you mind like taking like the dress off? Like, do you mind just like going nude? Like, and they're so like confident, and when you're a new model or even like an amateur or advanced model, like when someone kind of puts you on the spot like that, and if they're paying you, and if our other things are involved, like it kind of makes you feel like, oh, I'm not going to get my pictures back, I'm not going to get my payment if I don't do this,
right? And or you don't want to be like unprofessional.
Exactly. But what I've learned recently is it's obvious that they're the ones being unprofessional.
Sure, of course.
Like they're the ones that have breached like outside of what was agreed to. But there's a lot of that, and I hear that all the time. And I feel like even recently, like in the past few years, I've experienced that where I've gone to shoots and nothing that we talked about was what they actually wanted to shoot. And so it's rough. I feel like, yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, do you have like a written agreement of like, this is what my ideas are, or is it just like a verbal conversation?
So it depends. For paid ones, usually there's a written agreement, so that money and images and stuff like that. But when it's like a TFP shoot, or you're just like meeting up, maybe shooting with somebody that you saw that you wanted to shoot with, like on Instagram, then usually no, there's not a written agreement. And so that can just give them, I guess, wiggle room in their minds to ask for extra stuff that they didn't bring up initially.
Yeah.
And that's just not the vibes.
No.
Not the vibes at all.
That's super creepy. So I should back up. And how did you even get into like, when you first started modeling, it was more like traditional, like cutesy, like, like catalog stuff. And then now it's, it's more edgy, more alternative. Like, how did that evolution happen?
Yeah. I feel like honestly, it naturally happened as I started just to get more tattoos and change my hair color because at the beginning when I had that brown hair, no tattooed look, it was easy to get commercial bookings and editorial type bookings and things like that. Whereas now I do feel like at this moment, I don't think it'll always be this way, but at this moment I do feel a little more limited in what I can do with the hair and with all the tattoos because while the industry is slowly shifting and we do see more tattooed people in commercials and things like that, it's like one tattooed person to, 90 not tattooed people. So I think that that kind of shift naturally made me have to go towards more alternative, which I didn't mind. I like all of it, it's all fun. But I think that I've put myself in a box for the time being with that. I think once I change my hair back to a normal color, it'll open up the options for maybe me to be that one tattoo person that they choose to hire,
You're going to change your hair back?
Eventually, yeah. I haven't talked to Danny yet.
Danny, sorry, you're hearing it here first.
Yeah, sorry you're hearing it here, Danny. But I do think in the next few months, I have plans that I would like, hopefully Danny, to help me change it back to like a brown. And I don't mind like little streaks of color like here and there, but I think having just a more unified like look will help me get more back into the commercials.
Is that like strictly based off of like you wanting to go? Is it like a modeling decision or are you just like I'm kind of over it?
Yeah. No, it's a modeling decision. Yeah, I kind of want to open back up my look so that I can be casted for those things. It's also hard to keep headshots, when my hair changes all the time. And luckily, like I shoot here and I can do self portraits, so that does give me a little room. But it would just be easier, if I had my brown hair,
For sure. I was gonna say. So, is it? Do you think it's easier or harder to like having it be in Texas and having like a more alternative look? Like, I think obviously people would seek you out because it's not as common here. Or do you think it's harder?
I think, like you said, I do think that when appropriate, I do think I'm sought out for those types of things. But overall, I would say it's harder. And not even the tattoos. I think it's more just like everything in combination, like tattoos and the hair and the height, like everything all together. I think if it's just like one or two of those things, not a big deal because that's what I experienced back when I first started.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does make it a little harder, but it allows for a lot more creative shoots, and there are angles that I use to make it work for me. Like I think it is a plus too to have my hair change all the time because then people get different looks. It's never the same when they shoot me, which that's a plus.
For sure. So I know you're a photographer as well, obviously. Yeah. So does that like, oh my God, I can't talk. What am I trying to say? Like, I know words are hard. Do you take that into consideration when you're seeking out a photographer?
Take what into consideration?
Let me reword this. Like, or when you're on a shoot, like if someone's shooting you, are you like, no, you should like do this lighting. Like, I should move over here.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's helped me like even sell myself better because I shoot with a lot of new photographers. And so they're kind of coming in and they know like the basics, like the very basics, and they do need help with stuff like that. So I think that's a perk of hiring a professional model is even if they aren't a photographer, they've been in enough shoots to where they know like this is not good lighting, this is better lighting. So I definitely think that I help with that for sure.
So I feel like with like social media and Instagram, everyone feels like they're a model. So how do you actually get like paid to model these days?
Definitely. So like I said at the beginning, like you have to build your portfolio and that takes time. And so you're gonna have to like do a lot of stuff for free at the beginning or just spend a lot of your free time, making content yourself even. To be able to do that. But once you kind of have like enough filled out, like in your niche or if it's a variety and that's your aim, however you're going about it, I feel like that's when you can kind of start like what you're doing because you learn like any type of job or like any type of school when you're on set or when you're on a shoot, you're learning as you go. So I think once you build up enough of those, you can just start advertising that you want to, start charging, and then some people go the agency route. That is a personal choice. That is a personal decision. Not for me. I've tried it before and it's not bad. It's nice depending on which agency you go to because a lot of agencies get a lot of bookings, and if you're one of, the models that has either a unique look or a basic look, then you're going to get booked a lot. But I think the worst part about an agency is that that you have to stay the same. There is no room like for really changing, like getting tattoos or coloring your hair, like because if you do, you have to pay for your headshots all over again, and it's more, yeah, it's a big thing. So that was like a big turnoff for me. And most agencies in Texas, you're not gonna get enough jobs like to keep you like paying your bills. It's not going to be a full-time job. So it just kind of depends on the angle. I feel like you have a lot more freedom when you can do freelance because you get to keep all that money. You get to do all that, whereas agencies take fees and it costs money to be a part of them as well to like get your headshots done usually.
Really?
But yeah, it's an expensive thing. I remember a friend getting into one and she was so excited, and then they were like $800 headshots. They're like, all the stuff you have isn't good enough, and she had a full portfolio. Like she had been modeling for years, and they're like $800. Like,
oh, dumb,
crazy.
That's lame. I remember at the Mall of America, this was a long time ago, the mall where I grew up, they used to have this like kiosk there where it was this modeling agency, and they would literally stop every teenage girl and they were like, you are beautiful, you should like come to our school. And you like, you obviously felt so special because I feel like every teenage girl like, you know, wants to like be a model. Yeah. And so I remember I was like, I'm gonna be a model, and I like went to this thing, and it was like, it was like hundreds of girls, and like, you know, it was just, not everyone was very attractive. And so I was like, oh, I think this is a scam. And yeah, they basically like wanted you to pay them, and they would like teach you how to walk and like take pictures. And I was like, oh, this is bullshit. I'm not doing
this is actually not at all what it's supposed to be. I remember those too back at the my mall. They also had those.
Really?
Yeah, they did. Not the vibes. Not the vibes
at all. It's like kind of fucked up though, because like they just prey on like, you know, girls' insecurities. Like, oh, you're so pretty, and you're like, yes, I will give you my money. Just tell me I'm pretty. Absolutely. Take my picture.
Like, yeah, tell me I can do it. And again, like you said, they tell everyone that they can do it. And modeling is not for everybody. Like, even if like, you know, you're a beautiful person, like you may not want to be a model. Like,
dude, well, even when you took my headshots, like I feel like I can take a pretty good selfie on my own. I have like one good angle that I know is solid. But even when you were like, do this and like put your hands by your face, and I'm like, I look like an idiot right now. Like I know I do. I know I do.
And that's what modeling is. Anything that feels stupid or awkward, you're probably looking right on the camera. It's the lamest trick, but that's how it is.
So were you always comfortable in front of the camera?
I think so. And I think it was because my friend, it was like a mix of both. It was because the first time it was with my friend, and so she was there to like literally guide me and pose me, so it felt more like a fun, you know, girly thing. And then second, I think that since I always wanted to do it, I think there was a little bit of like, oh, well, since I always wanted to do this, like I have to show out. You know, Aries energy, gotta show out.
Obviously.
And so, yeah, so I think I always have. I definitely have had shoots that have made me feel more nervous, you know, depending on like the client or like the concept. Like the first nude shoot I ever did was probably like the second most terrifying thing in my life. You know, like horrifying. It went fine, but it was horrifying.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think you know, it's still to this day, like it goes shoot by shoot. Depends on who I'm shooting with. Yeah. For sure.
Do you still get nervous doing like nude photo shoots, or is it kind of like liberating once you're like, oh, I don't give a fuck, this is great?
Yeah, it's a mixed bag, because like I feel like in some ways it does feel very liberating, and it's nice to get pictures back and be like, oh damn, like I look good, like that's crazy, like, you know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like there's a lot of like, and I feel like I know a lot of models that have this as well. Like there's a lot of like body dysmorphia involved with, yeah, like, you know, like, and so sometimes like getting those pictures back, you see it, and depending on who's paying you to shoot, they may not get the best angles of you. So that can be like soul crushing to like see a picture and think like, oh my God, do I look like that? Like, is that how I look? And it's not. Like, it's totally not. Like, they got like the worst angle possible, like for real. But you know, it's one of those things. So I think it can be harder.
Yeah. So even on the topic of like body image, body dysmorphia, like, do you feel a certain pressure to like stay looking a certain way, like a certain size? Like if I feel like I had like a nude photo shoot, I'd be like, well, I guess I'm not eating for the next week, which I'm not saying that's healthy, but like I feel like that's where my mind would go to, which is, you know, I feel like it's a thing in the modeling world.
It is. It definitely is. And like I think that's a very like super common thing. I know a lot of models that when they have shoots in general, like just any kind of shoot, they will skip their meals for the day until after the shoot. And I definitely think that this is way more harmful than good, because I used to do that, like heavily when I first started modeling. I would skip meals, and it made me feel like shit during the shoot. Like there were times that I would have to leave the shoot early because I felt so sick to my stomach, you know, modeling outside for hours. So I think like it's like nowadays it's more of a balance. Like if I have a nude shoot that morning, maybe I'm not going to eat like a full like huge breakfast, like pancakes, eggs, bacon type vibe.
Yeah, you're not carb loading.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm still gonna make sure that like I eat something, like at least some eggs, a smoothie, something lighter. But I do think that that plays a huge part, like in the modeling world, is like the eating disorders that go on like with shooting, because you want to look your best at a shoot, and it can be really, really hard to, you know, feel comfortable eating if you know that you might get bloated, and everyone gets bloated when they eat. That's just how the human body works.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Have you ever felt pressure from like photographers to like drop any weight or like anything like that?
Definitely, definitely. Like there definitely is a pressure to like stay a certain size, and the size is like on the lower end, like of what you were saying, like not eating as much, skipping meals, things like that. And photographers definitely have that kind of like image in their mind, because they're shooting these people all the time and they see them, and so they get this idea like, okay, that's what a model looks like, super skinny, like, you know, skinnier than they should be probably. And so I definitely have had photographers say things like that they're glad that I'm working out, even though like they don't know me. They don't know that I've been working out 5 days a week for 9 months. That's something I love to do. But they just make assumptions, and they're like, oh well, because you're not a size 0, then you must not be taking your health like as seriously. And that is like something. It's not all the time, but it's enough to like get under your skin a little bit for sure.
That's like what I picture like a photo shoot being like. They'd be like, hey fatso, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, right.
Like, you look old, you look ugly. I would be like, okay, like I would. That's just like what I picture in my head of being like super toxic. So
It can be. It so can be. And luckily, I haven't. Luckily, I haven't been to too many castings, but I've heard horror stories just like what you said. Like
really,
where girls will go in, and they are like girls that are perfectly healthy, like look great, and they'll like walk in and tell them they need to lose 20 pounds before they can ever step back into a casting office.
Yeah, insane.
It's insane. And it also depends geographically where you're at. Texas is a little bit better. I think they lean kind of more with California. So like they like athletic builds, and things like that. They're a little more lenient, more body posy, which we love. New York, fuck New York. They hate everybody.
They want everyone like this big, 00.
That big, and you have to be tall, and they're like, there's no wiggle room, and they don't pay very well. So it's just like, oh yeah, like unless you're like one of the top like 2% of models, you're getting paid like half of the rate that I get paid here.
Interesting. So, probably because there is so much competition, I would assume.
Yeah, I would think so too. Yeah. Not ideal. Not my favorite place to model.
No, definitely not. Yeah. I mean, I think everything is like a little bit more like body positive, and you're seeing like, you know, differentiation with like body types and even like tattoos, hair color. Do you think that's important to have everything like be represented?
Yeah, I think so, because I mean, and even just from like from a human perspective, 100% yes. And then also like as someone who does marketing as well, like from a marketing perspective, that just makes sense. People want to see themselves represented in commercials and TV and whatever. And so I feel like it just makes sense to include everybody from a human and a marketing perspective.
Right.
Because it's going to be better for the business. But I feel like we're getting there, but it's like literally like trudging to get there. You know, there's plus size models, but they still have to look a certain way and weigh a certain amount. And you know, models can have tattoos, but like they can't have like anything else, because otherwise like it's too distracting, doesn't fit.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. That's what I see. Yeah. And there's wiggle room. There's like 1%, you know, there are things like obviously that don't follow that, but for the most part, I think that's kind of how things are going right now.
So on the topic of like doing like nude shoots and everything, and just like the more like adult nature of the things that you put out there, have you had any like pushback or like, you know, any feedback from like your family or like even people that you grew up with? I just picture people in Texas being like, she's a porn star now.
Right, right. Exactly like that.
Yeah.
Luckily, not too crazy much. My parents, I was like really worried about all that, but they did end up finding out, and I don't think my dad knows. Like, and that's cool. He doesn't need to know, you know.
Yeah.
What he doesn't know won't hurt him. Type
Right,
vibes.
right.
But my mom, she does know, and I remember at first she was like, "Why are you doing that?" And I was like, well, like, you know, I make money that way. Like, I can either go make like 10 an hour, like busting my ass, like at a restaurant, or I can like pop a little titty and make like triple, you know? So, like, come on. Like, and since I was like, I was already doing that, like, it just made sense. It just made sense. It just made sense. Like, in the modeling industry, and like, there are so many ways to like tastefully do nudes. And when I do shoot, like, that is something that I am very explicit about. Like, we're not doing like any crazy like spread shots or anything like that. It's gonna be, we got to keep it somewhat classy, somewhat, just a little.
How does your boyfriend feel about it? I assume he's cool with it.
Yeah, no, he's very supportive about it. I think in the past, like, we've had conversations about how other people like view it, but we both so like authentically want each other to be ourselves, and we want to be ourselves, that like that's the thing that matters the most. So yeah, he is very supportive, totally on board, and anytime I've ever needed him to come with me to a shoot, he's in the front seat, he's driving. Like,
I'm sure he's like, hell yeah, I'll go and be your bodyguard.
Yeah, absolutely. He's flown with me places, and it's been awesome. So
you get flown out to places? Yeah, you get flown out. Oh, okay.
Yeah, right. A few times, and you know, some of them have been good, some of them have been bad. Like, it's a very mixed bag. But I used to do a lot more traveling, like travel modeling, and I still have my books open for it. So if people reach out to me and they're in another state and they're like, I want to work with you, I'm like, all right, travel fees.
Right.
Here's my regular fee. Like, yeah.
Like, I'm gonna need some food. I'm gonna need the hotel. Yeah.
So like, you know, transportation, all of it.
All of it.
And if they're down, you know, then I'm down too, and we'll make it work. I did kind of have like a weirder experience recently. I had gotten flown out to Kansas City.
Okay.
And it was a shoot that was supposed to be like a bondage type shoot, which like just like shibari. And like fully clothed, you know, nothing crazy. We're not going, you know, nothing crazy. But we get there, and it just wasn't. It was one of those things where like it wasn't what we had talked about. There was like he didn't bring any of the supplies that was needed, and we didn't like. I thought he had a home studio. We ended up shooting up in the hotel room that I was in with my boyfriend there, and this is like his first bondage shoot that he's ever been to with me. So he's sitting there like what is going on? And it was just very uncomfortable. I ended up cutting it an hour short, which I would normally never do because I'm all about that bag. But in that case, I was like, I need to get out of here. Me and my boyfriend need to like you to get out of here. So
yeah,
just one of those. Yeah. So it can be hit or miss. The one before that was great. Went to South Carolina. The guy let me keep all the clothes. Perfect. You know.
Yeah.
I'm like, hell yeah.
That's amazing. So, do you ever have any like creepy dudes trying to like comment on your stuff or like in your DMs? I'm assuming you probably have a lot of that.
Oh my god, yeah. It's a pretty regular thing. Most of them luckily stay in the outbox, so they like live and dwell in the outbox.
They're talking to themselves. Yeah,
exactly. But I do have some that somehow like sneak through the outbox and they make it in my main box, and they are wild. Like I've had people that will just like call over and over, like on Instagram or Facebook or something. And I'm like trying to go in and block them, and I keep having to like hit them, like cancel. It's horrible. So I've had a few stuff like that. Definitely some creepy guys on like some of my other sites. And yeah, just they're everywhere. They're just crawling around. They're everywhere, and I hate it. Like, truly. Not my favorite.
I shaved my head a couple years ago, and I remember there was a guy in my DMs, and he had like, I didn't realize how many guys had like a bald head fetish, but anyway, he was in my DMs and he wanted me to like smoke. He offered me like a couple $100 to like smoke and like talk shit to him, and I was like, what? I was like, that's so strange. So like, what's the weirdest thing someone's asked you to do?
That's such a okay. Yeah, this is great. One time, I'm not sure if this is the weirdest, but it's the one that always comes to my mind. One time a guy had me buy like 4 or 5 bags of grapes, and yeah, and he had
Okay.
me step on them just for like
Oh.
a 4 or 5 minute video, which like whatever. The kicker is that at the time I lived in an apartment, and so I had a patio, but it faced everybody. And so I was like, I can't do it on the patio. Like I
Yeah.
can't have
Yeah.
these kinds of questions being asked about me in my apartment
You're like, is she
complex.
trying to make wine over there? What's going
Right?
on?
Like what is happening? So I had the genius idea of I had wood floors in my apartment, not nice
Mhm.
wood floors or anything, but I was like,
Yeah.
I'll just do it on the wood floors and I'll clean it up. So that
Yeah.
ended up being a several hour ordeal because it got really messy,
I
as
can
you would
picture
imagine.
that.
Yeah, so that was a pretty weird one. I was like, oh, and I've also had someone, second next weird one. I've had someone have me get like a pie shell and like put whipped cream in it and just like put it on have my boyfriend put it on my face. And
Like
he's not in it, just his hand, you know?
like a humiliation kind of thing, or just
Or like it's like a messy thing. It's like a messy thing. It's I think it's like borders the same line as like syrup, you know, like people if they use
yeah.
like syrup or honey. It like
Uh-huh.
borders something like that. Yeah.
And they're like, ooh, let
Just
me lick it off of her. I don't know.
I guess like it's so bizarre. Like some of the things like I'm all for them. You know, I'm like whatever. I'm down to for those kind of things. I think you can make good money off of them because it's so obscure. You know.
Yeah. Like I say, you got a check, I got a talent, right?
Exactly. I'm like I could do that. I could step on some grapes.
I know. I'm like, shit. Can I step on some grapes, make some money?
Right?
So when I was talking to you when I met you, I don't know if you're comfortable talking about this, but
Yeah.
you said that you had an OnlyFans, and I was like, what's the thing that makes you the most money? And I
Mhm.
don't know if you want to talk about that, but I thought it was very interesting.
I'm trying to think what I said at the time made me the most money. Oh yes, yes. It
Yeah.
was the tape stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was something that I learned, I guess, from one of the people that I do photo shoots with like semi regularly a few times a year. And he does like bondage type photo shoots. You're fully clothed and he has like different types of like unique like restraints and stuff. And his whole thing is to just like have you like try and like break out of them. And a lot of them you can. And so like it's very easy, you just like pop out. And like it's more of like how strong you are, like is his whole angle with it. Like he's trying to like highlight like how strong the girls are that he's shooting or whatever.
Yeah.
He's a very nice guy, love him.
Mhm.
I learned it from him because in his videos like oftentimes we'd wear like just tape
Mhm.
like it was cute, like it normally matched my hair and I'm all for that,
Yeah.
all for matching. And so we'd wear tape and yeah, so I just learned that was like a thing. It's something about like it's along the same lines as like a ball gag or
Yeah.
anything like that, you know?
Yeah.
And it's something about like the lip outline, like when you have it on.
Oh,
So
interesting.
so like that it's all in that kind of sphere. But I realized I was like, oh shit, like I can make money by literally just putting tape on my mouth and taking a selfie.
Dude.
Like, right? Like I was
Amazing.
like, that's amazing. I was
Yeah.
like, genius. And I had been looking for something to niche down into because my OnlyFans isn't like a traditional OnlyFans. Like, there's
Mhm.
no porn on there. There's no like boy girl videos or girl videos or anything
Mhm.
like that. It's all just pictures from my modeling, like some of my nude modeling and things like that. So I had been looking for something to kind of niche down into that I could make a lot of money off and not have to take my clothes off necessarily.
Sweet.
So that was the perfect thing. And so I've been kind of niching down into feet and tape, and that's been my
I mean, I had to ask, like the feet. I feel like that's
yeah.
everyone's like thing.
They love it. They love it. You have to find them though. They were not as easily accessible as you would think.
Really?
I had to like really like kind of like find them on, and it was through the tape that I ended up finding a lot of the feet people because it's connected to for some reason. So
Really?
yeah, it's weird. It's cool. It's weird and cool.
um so I've heard from other people that they like it's not as easy as just like uploading pictures of your feet. I've heard that you have to like have conversations with people and kind of like keep that fantasy kind of going. Is that true for you too?
Less so for me. I feel like a lot of girls do, and I do think that that helps them make more money. And I think if I did, that would probably help me make more money. But I don't. like investing that much time into it, like more than I have to, because since I'm doing so many other things too, that's probably takes up like a 10 to 15% of my life. So I try to keep it as quick as possible. Like, so there's really no like experience except for the pictures. They get what they paid for.
Okay.
And so normally they'll come to me, like they might want me to like take some feet pictures outside, like in shorts or something. And so like again, it's always very tame. And so I'll just go in the backyard and take my little pictures, and I'll send it to them. I'll be like, thank you, I hope you enjoy it. And then they'll be like, they might say something like, thanks, I love it so much. And I'll be like, okay, wait, great, let me know if, when you want something else. And then that's it. And I never talk to them until they message me again about money.
So when someone like wants a feet foot pics, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Do they want them like just as is? Or are you like, I gotta get a pedicure? Or they're like, I don't care if you have like rough heels, give me those cuticles, I don't care.
Right. Yeah. So that's the thing. Like the world is your oyster when it comes to this stuff. Like there is something for everybody, and most of the feet people kind of like it all. Like they'll like it if you just get like a pedicure. So like oftentimes I'll be like, hey, like you pay for my pedicure, I'll send you some pictures.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. Right.
Nice.
Right. So good. And so that's a good exchange. But a lot of times, like I've had guys before, I'm assuming guys, I don't know, people, that have had me like be like, can you go step in some mud? Like, can you videotape yourself like stepping around in mud?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a full thing. And normally I just kind of go with how I am at the moment. Like if someone asks me right now or today for 5 feet pictures, like I would just go as is. Like I haven't had a pedicure in a few weeks, but I would just go as is, like get that back. And
you still have like the sock lines on your ankles.
Yeah, right. and they always love it,
Really?
I was gonna say I was gonna say never a bad review, but I have had some people that would probably give me a bad review, but it was mostly because of their unrealistic expectations.
Why? What do they want you to do?
There's just people that like they. Sorry, I totally lost my train of thought. What we were talking about.
We were talking about feet. Talking about weirdos and their foot fetishes. No, I'm kidding. Not trying to yuck anyone's yum. Not yucking anyone's yum.
Yeah, exactly. I'm all for it. Like truly, it does great for. Yeah, I would have people that would like buy costumes and they would like they invest a lot of money like in these costumes, and they would want like very certain types of picture sets maybe. And I would explain that like to get that certain type of picture set, I would need to hire somebody else to help me. Like it wasn't something I could do alone. And it was always just like they weren't willing to do that, but still expected me to do it. Like they're like, well, we don't want to, like, I don't want to pay for that extra. I already paid for the outfit. And I'm like, that's not the deal here. Like, that's not how it works. Like, this is an outfit that I'm using for you for something that you want. But they very much just, some of them get like very, again, kind of like aggressive. And they're like, they just want things done their way. And they kind of expect you to just go along with it. To do it because they're paying you eventually, I guess.
Yeah. Has anyone ever not like, how does that work in OnlyFans? Sorry if you don't want to, or like whatever. And anytime anyone pays you, are you like, I need this up front and then?
Yes, always up front. I've had a few where I've done like 50-50 before because they also have like issues in the past, I guess, with models that just like take the money and don't ever send anything. So sometimes I'll do a 50-50 if I feel like it, but I really prefer to pay me up front because otherwise you can never be sure. And especially with that kind of content, like I wouldn't be willing to send something out until they did.
Yeah,
sure.
I'm just picturing like what my DMs look like, and I mean yours have got to be like a million times more insane than mine. And I'm like, I don't trust any of these dudes that are in my request folder. Like, I'm good.
No way. And I do think it's something that I like. The OnlyFans and all that is something I am kind of slowly phasing out of too. Okay. I think eventually, like whether that be in a few years or a few months, I think that it's just going to come to an end because of all that, like because of all the dudes on there, kind of the aggressiveness and just the expectations that they have, I think has kind of soured it for me a little. So so I'm sticking to the tape and the feet because it's easy and the guys there are pretty nice, but otherwise the rest of OnlyFans can have the rest. I'm good. Not for me.
So, do you have any advice? Because I feel like, especially with OnlyFans in particular, I feel like everyone, especially with like the recession, everyone's like, I'm just gonna like upload some foot pics on OnlyFans. Like that's like
Yeah,
kind of like their everyone's like fallback or go
go
to. Like I'm just
to.
gonna like set like sell nude pictures on the internet. Does that kind of make you roll your eyes? Or are you like, there's actually a lot more that goes into it?
A little bit, yeah. Because like at the end of the day, they totally could. Like I'm like, you could, but it's not that easy. And especially like the feet ones. Like again, like I was saying, like it's hard to find those people. I've been doing OnlyFans since 2020, and I just now found the foot people. Like finally got them to my page. Yeah, like
Yeah.
they were not before. So yeah, so I think it is a lot harder. There's a lot more that goes into it, and I think too, like especially with OnlyFans, like just doing one thing like feet, like it's so overpopulated. Like
Yeah.
there's so many people that do feet and more, you know, so they can get their fix
True.
kind of somewhere else. There are other websites. I've never used other websites because again, I kind of hear the same things that they're overpopulated, but apparently there are websites that people can do that, and it's an easier process because then you don't have to like make an entity like OnlyFans. Like you can kind of just like log in and sell pictures anonymously.
Right.
So,
It's
so that
great.
works.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming it's mostly about like either your look or your personality. Because in my head, I'm like, there's like you could literally just Google image feet and like have at it. So like the fact that
Exactly.
people like pay for it, I'm always like, that's kind of crazy. But like I said, it's got to be
Yeah,
like the specific person.
it is. And
Yeah.
like you said too earlier, like some people like really sell the vision too. Like they
Yeah.
sell the whole. They're good at their jobs, you know. Like they're good at it. It is a job for sure. So yeah, it's it's been good. It's been good over the years, but I think it will have its expiration date here in the
Yeah.
next few for
Interesting.
sure. Yeah,
Sweet.
definitely.
So what does the future look like for you?
Yeah, so modeling, I've always loved modeling, and I think that that will always be a part. And especially like we talked about, I think once my look kind of changes and stuff like that, it's gonna expand even more and more for what that holds. I hope for more commercials, more acting things. But really, right now, what I'm focused on and what I actually have today is a studio recording session. I've been writing and recording some music.
Yeah, I was gonna
And
ask you about that.
yeah, it's pretty exciting. It's pretty fun. My best friend, the girl that first shot me back in 2016, she's my
Yeah.
business partner and she's my best friend. And she started
Cool.
recording her songs first, and
Cool.
I would go with her and watch her do it and record some covers. And I kind of like saw how the process went, and so I've just now started doing that for myself. And I'm recording the first song that I've written today.
Sweet.
So that'll be exciting. Yeah. So I hope there's a lot more of that in the future. It feels very fulfilling and very new and exciting. So hoping for a lot more of that. Hoping for more photography. Just really anything creative is where I'm headed.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you have a preference like being behind the camera or in front of it?
I do prefer being in front, I think
Yeah.
a little bit more. I get nervous being behind because like even for our shoot, like I get really nervous too because I'm like, what if they hate it? Like I'm like, what
Yeah.
if I show them that and they're like, that's the worst picture I've ever fucking seen.
If any of the pictures that you took of me were bad, I wasn't like, oh, she sucks. I'm like, oh, I just
No, right.
I don't know how
And
to
I
move my
feel that
body.
way. And I feel that way too when I'm modeling. Like most of the time I'll assume that it was me in a pose or whatever. But sometimes it is the photographer and their angle too, and everyone has their best angles and what they like to be shot at. So in my head, I'm like trying to run through making sure I get everything, because at least like if I get everything, then there's enough for them to pick from.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think photography can get in my head a little bit. So I like to relax in front of the camera. Feels more chill there.
Really?
You don't think so?
Well, I mean, not for me, but I'm also not a model, so
You
I was
totally
like,
could be though. You're talking.
I have one good angle, girl. We talked about this. I remember when you were like really close up. I was like, oh god.
You're like, please, but those pictures came out great too.
Well, yeah, because you did a killer job, and I'm like, can you crop up my dirty Vans, please?
God, it was so funny. That was a great shoot. That was a great shoot.
Yeah, you killed it. You killed it.
So did you.
Oh, thank you. Didn't you have a podcast that you're working on, right?
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
that you
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
to?
Yeah. So that is something too. We're trying to like get this space that I'm in right now is our office, and I've been in the process of moving the last few months, just kind of finalizing, getting everything set up.
Yeah.
And so we're still setting up our office, but once we do, we want to get started because we have everything else. And it's going to be me and my partner, and it's going to be called the Never Ending Date podcast. We already have an Instagram for it. I believe it's Never Ending Pod, or something like that. I'll have to look that up later. But yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be us talking a lot about relationship stuff, like how we navigate through like hard conversations, hard topics, because I have never flowed so easily, like as I have in the past, like 9 to 10 months with somebody, like healthily. Like every conversation, every like crossroad we have, like is met with so much like peace and relaxation, and like we listen to each other. So we really want to like talk about that because I think it would help other couples, you know, that maybe are going through rough patches or just want to better their relationship in general. So stuff like that. We want to have other couples on too and like talk about things they do in their relationships that are different that help them. So we want it to hopefully kind of grow into like a really fun big thing. Yeah, we met so when was it? It was probably, I want to say like 2018. So we went to the same college. And that's actually not how we met though. It was me and my business partner. Her name's Chris. Keep mentioning her.
I know. Shout out Chris. Yeah. Got a big role in your life.
Sorry, it took me 46 minutes to shout her out. But yeah, Chris, her and I would host Girl Gang meetups together. She started it, and then I eventually started helping her out with it. And Girl Gang was a big thing where all types of women creatives could come together and create in a safe space, because we were really big on trying to promote safety and make sure that like women got a chance to like really get started in the industry and hear about the etiquette and stuff that's involved, so they didn't have to feel the pressures from like shooting with maybe a creepy guy down the line. And so those were always really fun. And eventually we started adding in, like we would let guys come in, but only if they were photographers that were vetted by us and like the community as well. So we would let like those kind of people in. We'd also let like gay, queer people in. And he ended up coming with his girlfriend one time. And so we met there. And then we also interviewed each other for school. We were both in journalism. So we interviewed each other. And then back about a year ago in November last year, we reconnected because Chris, because always Chris, every big moment in my life, Chris, she works for an event company and she hired us on the same event. And so we ended up seeing each other and talking, and that kind of like got the ball rolling before I like shot my shot.
You made the first move?
Oh, I always make the first
You
move.
do?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
Aries.
Yeah, right? It's definitely an Aries thing. And I just like to have the ball in my court. I only make the move if I feel confident, you know?
Yeah.
Only moves that I know are going to like actually hit. But but yeah, I normally do. I normally feel pretty comfortable making the first move. So I did. I had messaged him.
What'd you say? Do you remember?
Yeah, I do. Because he had posted a story and he was going to an event that Chris had hired him for.
Dude,
and so I
Chris.
knew exactly, right? I know, matchmaker, truly, for my whole life. She had hired him for an event, so he was dressed up like in makeup as a bronze cowboy. So he looked like kind of crazy, like painted, spray painted.
Yeah.
And he posted on stories like, a kiss to anybody who guesses what I'm doing. And I knew exactly what he was doing and where he was going. So because of Chris. So
yeah.
So I texted him. I was like, this is what you're doing. And he was like, oh, damn, like, I owe you a kiss. And so that just kind of started the flirty conversations from that point on. And
love it.
He ended up asking me out 3 days later, I think. So
good.
Yeah, it was great. And it was great. And we moved pretty quickly. Like, I think we met, or we had our first date like December 4th. And by December 30th, we were together. And by February, we were moved in.
Dang.
So it was I remember seeing Danny. Like, yeah, I saw Danny like right before I met him, and like right after I moved in, I was like, Danny, a lot has changed.
She's like, okay, wow.
Oh my god. But yeah, no, it's been great. No complaints, and so I'm really excited to start this like new venture, the podcast, together soon, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely learn a lot about yourself and just everything. Well, it's probably the same thing with modeling too. Like, So you get to
Yeah,
learn a lot about yourself and like your quirks and how you deal with things and just even communication with a podcast. So I'm excited
definitely.
to hear it whenever it comes out.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'll keep you in the loop. We'll
Yeah.
see.
And then
Hopefully.
yeah, whenever you drop your music on SoundCloud or wherever you're gonna drop it,
Yes.
like
Hopefully Spotify
I don't
and
know.
Apple Music.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Maybe
Um
SoundCloud.
no, you can do it. You can do it. And then whenever you have your show, like Danny and I will come, we'll have a sign, we'll be your
Yeah.
fans.
I will literally cry.
Dude,
Backstage.
dude,
Backstage.
we'll do it for sure. I'll be your
No.
groupie.
Oh, I love it. No, yeah. I'll be coming to y'all for all the services. I've been meaning to come for the eyebrows
Oh
because
yeah.
I see Danny's eyebrows every time and I'm
Uh,
like, oh, I want that.
I
Like,
mean,
so
I feel
bad.
everyone wants her eyebrows. Every time I post them, people are like, "Dude, she's so lucky." I'm like, I know. So
Right?
yeah,
Yeah, she is. She is. I was there the other day. I looked and you weren't there. I was like, oh, heartbroken
oh
when I went and
dang,
came done. Yeah.
yeah. Well, let me
Recently.
know the next time you come in, and I'll make sure I'm there so we can say hi.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
definitely.
yeah. Okay, so where can people find you if they want to look at your photography or learn more about you?
Yeah, so I am on Instagram and most platforms at the Shy Dawn. I think that's yeah, and then my business page for my photography is at Lunadon Creative. They're all connected though, so if you find one, you'll find the other. Try to
Perfect.
make it easy.
Get
Yeah.
that cross marketing. I like it.
Yeah, cross marketing, and
Yeah.
hopefully on Spotify soon. We'll see.
Are
So,
you gonna keep? Are you gonna keep the same name?
so I recently actually changed my name on Instagram, like the not my like but the
Hmm.
name just to
Yeah.
Dawn, and I think that my music name is gonna be Dawn, all caps. So
Nice.
hopefully that's where you'll find me on Spotify.
What a done.
Yeah, yeah. So soon, so soon. Today's the first, so we'll see how
Sweet.
today's song goes.
Oh my gosh.
No.
Well, good luck. I have faith in you, and I think that's almost like a perfect like crossover, just like modeling, singing,
Yeah,
photography. It's all good.
all of it. Yeah, like I said, anything creative, I'm game for. Like
Sweet.
that, I'm just trying to do fun things, not trying to do boring work.
I'm here for it. I support it.
Right?
Cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for coming today.
Yeah. No, thank you. This was great. So much fun.
Awesome. Well, everyone out there, until next time, stay brilliant.